another video. I'm going to be making an environment in Unreal. I'm going to be going off of a stylized approach this time using hand painted textures in Photoshop. So for the first milestone, I had to create a couple rocks, a chair, an anvil, a mailbox, and a forge to kind of give the scene some feel. And so we can see the forge, we can see the anvil, we can see the forge, and we can see the chair that I made. These are going to be the first little projects. And for these, this is just rendered in Blender. I'll show you them in Unreal. But for the actual way I did it is through Photoshop. So we can see like here on the forge, there was kind of a lot of pieces and my fire doesn't look that well, but I wanted to go over some of the processes I went through to create it. So in Blender, we can see here, I first did it by modeling out the geometry and then breaking them down into their respective UVs. I was going off of a forge that they had made in in WoW already. And I was trying to just see if I can create this. So what I did was I modeled it out to the best I could of what I thought they were doing, and then it can show you that a lot of the pictures are like referencing the same. Like this top cap is the same as this, and then they just kind of like wrap this around stacking the UVs. And so when I go into the UV editing, you can see here with everything combined, of course, we can go into here and this is the actual UVs that the object uses. And so we can see here, like all these UVs get stacked on top of each other. These two planes will get stacked on top, and that's kind of like the workflow that I guess the guys over at WoW are using is like little stacking of the UVs to try to preserve the UV space. Getting little hooks and little stuff like this just to try to make it look more stylized, low poly, but try to really hack down on the texture painting itself. So what I was doing is I was going into the shader window, and then here I can go to this image and reload the image, and this will go off of the texture that I put on here. So when I crack out the UVs, and we can come in here and actually show you the workflow I did. So doing this, I just added a couple colors, and then there's a brush selection for a mixer brush, and then you can kind of swirl them together. That's not what it's supposed to look like at all. I guess it helps if you get on the right layer, right? And as you blend it together, that's how I was able to get this effect on there. And I was using that kind of throughout. Like this is the smokestack pipes, and then it just has like a couple small, really simple. It was just a darker circle. Then I scaled down the pointer on this and just kind of messed with the hard and soft. And then I went a layer underneath of it and then did a soft black, and that was how I was able to get like the shadow that comes around it. And you can see there's quite a few layers that I ended up having to go through. This one was kind of in a rush, so a lot of the layers kind of get stacked together just because they were higher and lower. Like it started out doing pretty good and I had everything labeled, and then I started just like combining them. Like you can see this one right here and this one's on the same layer. And then I did that to a lot of this blending option for here. And then I would just sit there and go back and forth to see how the image looked on Blender. And then for this wood grain kind of pattern I do for the pillars in the back, just to try to give them some grain pattern. I went in here and did a hard brush, and then I would like lower down the opacity. Yeah, so we have it at 61, and then I would just drag and back and forth, and where the lines overlap, it would kind of give you this grainy pattern. And I would just do that with some darker and some lighter color um, yellows and browns, and that's how I was able to get this kind of wood grain pattern. This is for like the airbag in the back that gets inflated. Trying to get these UVs, you can still see it needs some work, but it's going to be referenced from a third person game I'll show you in Unreal here in a little while. And that's how I was able to get like a lot of the patterns for wood. I did the same thing for like the wood chair. I started it off just going this way, right and left over the screen. And then to try to get the chair to look like it had like a metal feel to it, like if there was an actual like metal band painted on here, I was trying to go for a darker outer color, and then it would slowly, like this one is the soft brush, and then it goes to a like a dirty mark. And then I kind of did the same thing for the bolts on this one. It was just a heavy, hard outer brush with the shadow and then two little light ones to try to make it look like there was actual bolts on there. I think I actually have this one labeled correctly on the layers. See if I could show anything. Yeah, the dark lines just try to give the metal some um, shadow effect, kind of make it look like it was hand painted on like the World of Warcraft chair. You can kind of see how they have like a shaded outline. And then trying to get the UVs to match up for like the scratches was real pain in the butt. Getting the highlights right. I probably didn't even get them right, but what I was doing is I was going like a softer brush, and then you can kind of see they're like faded out. So then when you can see on the actual chair, it kind of looks like it has like old worn edges on the scratchy side. The front of it, I'm not too proud about. It was trying to get this to look like the actual reference image. I didn't want to just take it off and paint it, so what I was doing was trying to actually just match it on here and give it my own little colors, and you can see how that kind of turned out here in Photoshop, which was over here, if it'll let me. You can kind of see how I was doing about that. I was going real light on the opacity with a lighter colored brush, and then I would go through with it, and then with a soft brush on the inside, I was going a little darker. And then on the very edges, I try to give it like a little highlight. And then I made some scratches. I lowered the opacity on the wood grain ones, but they were all just, I used the clone stamping tool from the ones I made on the metal. But you can see they're just dark with some nice highlights on them, just to try to make them pop out on the chair. Like it's all worn and somebody smacked it with some sword or something like that. And I just put it throughout the model, trying to give it like that nice chunky look, like the WoW inspired chairs do. And then for the anvil, it was a lot of the same blending techniques just to try to get it to match on the one they had. They had like some yellows right here, some dark spots, and some browns. And then I was doing that when I was trying to make my anvil, if I could get to it. Try to give it some nice scratches and details. This hard seam, they had the same kind of seam right here, so I didn't think it was too big of a deal. When I took this into Materialize to get the normal maps, this white kind of gets popped out instead of being like the scratches you would see. So you can even see when I put the normal map on the texture for this one, how it affects it. And then if I was to like lower this down, it kind of like takes it away. But yeah. And for here, what I try to do is I made some nice lines up and down, and then I went to a filter, and I think I did the directional blur, a motion blur, and then I just put it up and down, and that was how I was able to get like this stripe pattern, similar to how the reference image was, how it has these scratches right here with the different colors. Uh, this inside, it was just to get the blends to all get like nice reds and stuff like that around it. It just kind of looks goofy. Um, but this was the same thing. I kind of like stacked UVs. Like this is both sides of the anvil. This is the big long back, and this is that short neck of the anvil, and then this is the sides of them. And for the mailbox, I had to open up another wow scene that I made. Um, I kind of went a little something different, just kind of off the head, went off and made some decals and some chain decals. I actually got the decals from ChatGPT image, but everything here is just the hand painted stuff that I had made, trying to give it a lot of the same kind of style as the mailbox, but it looked real like chunky and kind of real simple, and I didn't want to go too simple on this, so I went with um, this. The top is just some cylinder or some ovals, ellipse tool that I had made, and then kind of faded out the lines so you could see like little highlights on it. So when we come in here in Blender, you can kind of see the highlights. The top was just a brown little cap. Maybe the mail guy can reach in there and grab the boxes, and then you put your little mail in the slot. And I try to give it some scratches again, using those same kind of blending techniques from before. And then I'll show you how everything looks in Unreal. So right now in Unreal, I have everything loaded up. All I've done is lowered the directional light or the sun, one of the two. Yeah, I changed the temperature on the directional light a little bit, and then brought everything in. It looks pretty close to how everything's looking in Blender. Oh, I painted the rocks in Substance Painter, but looking up the a rock material kept making my painter crash. That's why I'm painting the textures in Photoshop. But got normal maps from the images I made and put them in materialized and saved them as, or got the height and normal maps just to try to give the chair, like you can see how it has like the beveled edges, and then the scratches are actually like caved in now. And then here's the anvil, and then here's that um mailbox. These decals was I was able to get into the materials and save them as double-sided, so I can give it like this chain alpha. And then there's the mail little alpha that I had made, was able to get them into double-sided. And then my forge I just got done making. Kind of give it some like highlights and shadows. The little baffle bag. And yeah, this is everything I have so far for my scene for milestone 1. And I'll keep working on the environment. Thank you very much.